Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to MAR Talks in our series on revolutionary mothering. I'm Carrie Cavers, founder of Moms Against Racism Canada. I have the privilege of hosting this interview from my home, which is on the unceded ancestral lands of the Lekwungen-speaking people of the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, also known as Victoria, BC. And through this interview series and looking at the characteristics of people who practice revolutionary mothering and the circumstances that require them to do so, I'm deeply humbled by the resiliency of the Indigenous people who have stewarded this land time immemorial. As for our guest today, she is a trailblazing, history-making, iconic Canadian change maker. She looks the status quo in the eye and says, "Not on my watch." She is a role model for Black girls everywhere who have dreams of making the world a more equitable place while shattering some glass ceilings in the process. Quite frankly, I cannot believe the honor I have today in interviewing the Honourable Jean Augustine. Jean made history as the first Black woman elected to Canada's Parliament, serving from 1993 to 2006. Her roles included Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister, Minister for Multiculturalism and the Status of Women, Chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and Deputy Speaker. Her legislative successes include both the historic Black History Month motion and the famous 5 motion honoring women's suffrage. From 2007 to 2015, she was Ontario's first ever Fairness Commissioner. In 2008, the Jean Augustine Chair in Education, Community, and Diaspora was launched at York University to help advance education, equity, and inclusiveness. Today, also in her name, are a Girls Leadership Academy in Scarborough, a Center for Young Women's Empowerment and Municipal Park in Etobicoke, a secondary school in Brampton, and a multi-purpose complex and district park in Vaughan. She's a member of the Order of Canada and commander of the Order of the British Empire, holds honorary doctorates from the universities of McGill, Toronto, York, Windsor, Waterloo, Guelph, and Trent, and supports scholarships at Centennial College, George Brown, and Humber College. Honourable Augustine, Dr. Augustine, Miss Augustine, thank you for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you, Carrie. It's a pleasure to be with you, and especially you are in that beautiful island. And I am an islander myself, an islander at heart. And so, you know, I know that you are in a beautiful part of our country. I am in downtown Toronto. Pleasure to join you.
Thank you, thank you. And there is so much that I want to ask you. I know that you have so much wisdom you could impart on us all. And I'm quite frankly very jealous of your former students who would have had the opportunity to learn from you. But today I will be asking you the same 3 questions I've asked all of our interviewees for this series. So the first question is, what does revolutionary mothering mean to you?
Well, this is really a loaded word, revolutionary, because when I hear the word revolutionary, I think of someone who is ready to tear down barriers and to do things that are outside of the norms, as it were, in order to create change. And so when I think about revolutionary mothering, actually, I've never really given much thought to revolutionary mothering, but I will for this occasion respond to your question. I think I'll go from the perspective of doing what needs to be done in order to ensure that our children, that our young people have the wherewithal, the means, the self-esteem, the connections, the networks that would enable them to be self-affirmed, to be persons who recognize their abilities and strengths, and who can face the world with knowledge of self. It seems to me it's important for us to do this as Black women, simply because the residues of colonialism, the residues of slavery have created for us situations that have self-esteem or liking of ourselves, whether it's our hair or nose or skin color, that so much in the society, so much over the years have shown us, even the English language, with words that indicate things that are not good, Black. The language is loaded with references that somehow demeans and somehow give us the impression that we're not as good as or equal to living in a white society. And so when I think and try to answer your revolutionary mothering, I keep thinking of what we need to do for our children to ensure that they grow up with the strength as proud, Black, African-rooted young people operating in a system using their full skills and abilities and ensuring that they are productive members of the society in which they live.
Wonderful. Thank you. So much wisdom. And I've watched a couple of the interviews that are out there for anybody to watch. And one of the common themes that I've seen is that is a big part of what you do. You identify the need and then you work to fill it. And so that brings me to my next question is, what ways do you practice revolutionary mothering?
Well, let's start with my own upbringing. I grew up in Happy Hill, St. George's, Grenada, surrounded by a number of matriarchs, women in the family who were strong women, not much in terms of university education, university degrees, but women who were schooled in the school of hard knocks, who knew what was necessary to ensure the children were loved, the children were nurtured, children were given the opportunity to play, to develop, and in an environment where the matriarchs or the women in the family could provide counsel and guidance, and at the same time challenge the young people to do the best they can. And that's how I grew up. I heard, yes, you can. As a girl, there is nothing you can't do, my grandmother used to say. Go for it. Don't give up. Try again. All those were things that helped me to develop that resiliency, that ability to fall and pick yourself up and dust yourself off, as the song says, and keep on going. And when I raised my two daughters, I think I did the same thing with them. You give them the opportunity to express, because one of the things too, despite what I'm saying about children being nurtured and whatnot in the Caribbean, there was also the kind of silent children are to be seen and not heard. And you don't interrupt an adult's conversation or you don't make interventions into adult conversations, realizing that that was not the best way to help our children to express feelings, express desires, express needs. One had to allow them to be expressed. And so I allowed my kids to express. We would talk in the car or at home or wherever. we would talk about. And my question was also, what do you think? What do you think? And I think that's an important question to ask our children, to see what's happening in their thinking, not because somebody said it, not because this was whatever, but what do you think? The ability to express, the ability to say, I want to do this. I wish to participate in this way or the other. And so opportunities for education, because I grew up too with the knowledge that education was the way up and the way out of the island. And so education was important, made sure that they were well prepared for school. And at the same time, because there were little Black girls, I had to have the kind of conversations with them to give them that assurance. When I braided the hair, I had to make sure that they understand that there isn't bad hair and good hair. This is their hair. These and show them pictures of African women, you know, who were monarchs and who were chiefs and who were doing all kinds of things, and the ways in which their hair could do different things that their white classmates here can't do. So that affirming. It's the same with the color of the skin. I remember my daughter's coming home one day, and so-and-so called her chocolate. I said, well, then tomorrow when she calls you chocolate, you call her vanilla. And so I used to give them little things to help that self-defense, so they could speak back, so they could fight back, so they could educate. Whenever we had magazines in the house in those days, you know, we used to have those big magazines that came from the United States of Black Africans who were doing and achieving and in every sphere of endeavor. I would give them the magazine to bring to their teachers so that when they were doing collages, they can have a Black person, a Black hero, a Black representative in the collage. And so one has to be interactive in the education of their children. One has to, as someone said the other day, almost vaccinate them so that they could be the kind of Black, proud young person who can survive in an environment that demeans them, that show negative images, that denies them opportunities, etc. And I also involved my kids over the years in discussions and meetings. I would take them to meetings and to organizations that were doing service work, progressive work, where discussions were taking place about what we need to do in the society to make it more diverse, more inclusive. I would have the conversations around what is prejudice, what is discrimination. In those days, we didn't have the word microaggression, but we talked about prejudice and we talked about discrimination and what you do. And also vaccinated them from so that the perspective of the victim was never theirs. If someone called you a name, if someone did a prejudicial action towards you, then it's not you, it's that individual. And so you're not the victim, and you never will be a victim, because someone who would say or do whatever the negative is towards you, that is the person who is ignorant. That is the person who has no knowledge of you or your culture or your people. That is the person who does not have aspirations to live in a world where all of us come from different races and colors and creeds and nationalities. And so this, it seems to me, what we all ought to do with and for our children. And white folks have to do that for their children. Expose them to others, expose them to things, to concerts, to entertainment, to other cultural things so that they grow up respecting other cultures, respecting other other religions, respecting modes of dress, respecting and understanding why and how, and that the world we live in is a world of diversity.
And this type of parenting approach and inoculating our children against that, I mean, in and of itself is revolutionary within your family unit, but you've taken that and mothered a whole nation with all of the initiatives that you've done, and have brought that to so many more people. Did you want to tell us a little bit about some of those and why you felt that that was important to do those things?
Well, the thing is, one starts with the self. Who am I? What are my beliefs? What are the things that I'm passionate about? And I started as a classroom teacher, and I look at the boys and girls who are sitting in my classroom and being with me and being among, in so many ways. I had the opportunity to converse with them and their parents and to teach as I learned from them, because I think teaching and learning are two sides of the same coin. And at the same time, to expose them. So for example, when I had money for the school for instruments, I didn't just buy the flutes and the traditional European type instruments, but I bought other instruments from other cultures so that there could be an appreciation when one comes to the music class of other cultures and other instruments and the values. Because we have to equate. Sometimes we think that the European cantatas are at the top of the whatever, and that, you know, the calypso is at the bottom of the genre, etc. But again, it's trying to teach the source, the root, the origins, and having young people understand this. And that flowing from the classroom and seeing how important that teaching was and that learning was to young people. And then, of course, moving out, some of the things that I did in mentoring young people, in speaking on different occasions, having the opportunity to role model and to mentor for some young people. Those are the things. It's the self, the knowledge, the awareness, the respect, the seeing the potential in each and every one of us. And this is my way of life. I operate on something that the school in Brampton operates on, and that is a SAIL principle, S-A-I-L. And that is to provide service, to be an activist, an advocate for something that would provide service, to be, to initiate or to be innovative, and also to take leadership. And so we work in the mode of what are we passionate about? Who can help us to move along? Where can we get the resources? What can we innovate or initiate? And how can we develop our leadership skills, not just for ourselves, but our leadership skills in a community setting? How can we care for others? How can we lift others? And how can we be people who are contributing members of society? The Girls Leadership Academy, the Jean Augustine Center for Young Women's Empowerment. And that is looking, we take girls at that center from age 7 to 17. And We work with the young girls in a safe environment, and we give them life skills, nutritional facts. We talk about mental health. We do yoga and mindfulness. We show them how to sew a button on their shirt in case the button falls off, or how to hem a skirt. Life skills. At the same time, we encourage their creativity through the art and the music and the dance. And we do entrepreneurial so that they understand the cost of things. And we have great emphasis on the STEM programs, because I think we have to encourage our young girls to get into the science, the tech area, because those are the jobs of the future. And at the same time, as we open them up to mentors and to people coming from different career fields, we show them that one does not have to just go into traditional feminine, what were called feminine jobs, but that the world is open to them.
So much mothering that you do. So much impact. And the way you speak about how you do it, it's just so matter of fact. It's just what I do. But not everyone engages with life and with the world with the same mindfulness and attitude towards service as you do. So thank you very, very much for all of the love that you spread out into the world through all of the different organizations and programs that you do.
And I think it's important for me, Carrie, to say that I never do this alone, because one cannot make a difference alone. You cannot run an organization alone. We have to work in teams. We have to work with others. There's an old African saying, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to take others with you. And most of us are working and associating and looking at the folks who are around us. And so we have to pull others in so that we can go far with our ideas. So it's always a team, always working with a team, always bringing people along, always delegating some part of the work to someone as they develop the skills that's necessary, and being open to someone coming back to say, I did it, or I can't do it, or show me how.
It is a lesson that I've had to learn. I was younger, right? When you're younger, you want to go fast, do it fast. But I definitely now appreciate how working as a team and working together as a community and a collective, how we can round each other out. And like you say, that teaching and that learning, the same side of or the opposite sides of the same coin. There's so much benefit there for us too. So I will ask you our last question, a little bit of a shift, but what advice do you have for those wanting to be allies and dismantlers of racism?
That is an important question, coming at a time where we are in the midst of COVID-19. COVID-19 opened up for us and showed us the gaps between the haves and the have-nots. COVID-19 has shown us who are the essential and important workers in our society, many of them women, many of them people who are in low-paying jobs, but essential jobs. At the same time, this past year, we've had to witness right on in our face, no denying it because we have the pictures to show it, the vicious killing of George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter, who point out the systemic discrimination, the anti-Black discrimination, and somehow have created conversations around our responsibility, each and every one of us, that we cannot put our heads down and hold a blinder to our eyes and say, we don't know. Now we know. Now we're having the conversations. And so it's important that those people who are coming in the category of allies, it's so important for them, first of all, before they join the line of allies, they must do the self-examination. They must ask themselves, why do I need to care about that issue? And they must understand and speak to themselves around that. It's important for every one of us to look inside to see where our prejudices are, to see our workplace, to see how we behave in the marketplace, to look at who we offered promotional opportunities if we are a corporate body. What kind of pipeline do we have to get people who are on the margins into the center? How do we make room in our boardrooms? How do we ensure that all the groups that are out there who have been denied for a number of years, not through an individual who said, no, you can't, but from a system that was built in such a way that it denies the right to certain people to be in certain places. And so an ally looks at that and an ally says, this is where I stand. These are the issues I want to see change. And therefore, I will stand with those who want to make change. And an ally getting into the room does not use the ally's white privilege or the ally's privilege, but the ally comes in as a learner, as someone who stands side by side, as someone who understands that there are times that you have to move back and let the others take the lead. And so the issue of allyship, we hear a lot about that now. Again, we nuance a lot of language over the years. We used to talk about, supporters, and now we say allies because we're looking at those who would stand with and those who would hold, make the case for, and those who would back the cries for resolution to certain issues and certain problems. But the ally must know that there are boundaries to that allyship, that the ally just cannot walk in and I know it all and I know best and I know what's best for these people. The ally has to recognize what allyship is and what allyship means.
Thank you, Ms. Augustine. Thank you for looking for the gaps in society that need addressing and having the determination, the courage, commitment to be the change that you want to see in the world. And thank you for being the first in so many ways, and also working hard to ensure that you are not the last. You truly embody revolutionary mothering. And for those who are all watching, what a gift that this was for me. I'm sure it was a gift for you too. And to connect with the Honourable Jean Augustine, you can head to her website at jeanaugustine.ca or follow her on Instagram at H-O-N for Honourable, H-O-N Jean Augustine. Thank you for all the revolutionary mothering you do. The world, Canada, myself, and my children have all benefited from your radical acts of love.
Thank you.